Today, we're bringing you a story about courage. Not the loud kind that shouts in front of a crowd, but the quiet kind that grows inside you when you face your fears. It's a story about a shy boy who discovered that his voice, once hidden by fear, could one day inspire others. If this story moves you, remember to subscribe, because every week we share stories that help you learn English and remind you how powerful you truly are. In a small countryside school, surrounded by fields of sunflowers, there was a boy named Ryan. He was 12 years old, tall for his age, and always carried a small notebook in his pocket. He loved to write poems, stories, and little thoughts about the world. But there was one problem. He was terrified of speaking in public. Whenever the teacher asked him to read his work aloud, his hands would sweat, his heart would race, and his voice would disappear. His classmates didn't mean to be cruel, but sometimes they giggled when he stuttered or paused too long. Each laugh felt like a weight on his chest. So Ryan stopped volunteering. He still wrote in secret, but he promised himself never to speak in front of people again. One morning, his English teacher, Mr. Hayes, announced a school event. Next Friday, we'll hold a storytelling contest. Everyone will share their own story. The classroom buzzed with excitement, but Ryan's stomach twisted in fear. He looked down at his notebook thinking, maybe I can just skip that day. But that night, while sitting on his bed, his mother knocked on the door. She had found one of his poems lying on the kitchen table. "Did you write this?" she asked softly. Ryan nodded shyly. She smiled. "Ryan, this is beautiful. You have a gift. Why don't you share it?" He looked away. "Because people laugh when I talk." His mother took his hand and said something he would never forget. "They might laugh at first, but one day they'll listen. You just have to keep speaking until they do." The next week flew by and Friday arrived faster than Ryan wanted. The stage in the school hall looked enormous. The microphone shined under the bright lights like a tiny moon waiting to judge him. He almost turned around and ran, but then he saw his mother in the audience, smiling. Her eyes said everything. "You can do this." When his name was called, his legs trembled as he climbed onto the stage. He opened his notebook and looked at the story he had written. About a little bird who was afraid to fly because he thought his wings were too small. His hands shook. The first few words came out like whispers. The hall was silent except for the soft hum of the lights. He paused, closed his eyes, and took a deep breath. Then, remembering his mother's words, he began again, slowly, clearly, honestly. As he spoke, something magical happened. The fear that had always wrapped around his voice began to melt away. Each sentence grew stronger. He looked up and saw the audience leaning in, listening, really listening. When he reached the final line, the bird learned that his wings were always strong enough. He just needed to open them. The room erupted in applause. Ryan stood frozen for a second, his eyes wide, his heart racing. But this time it wasn't fear. It was pride. That night, Ryan realized something powerful. Courage doesn't mean you're never afraid. It means you speak, act, and try, even when you are. After that day, Ryan didn't stop being shy overnight. But he began to raise his hand in class, read his poems to his friends, And little by little, the boy who once hid behind silence became someone others looked up to. Years later, Ryan became a writer and a public speaker, standing on stages much bigger than his old school hall. And he always began his speeches with the same words. Once I was the boy who was afraid to speak. Now I help others find their voices. So remember, your voice matters. No matter how small or quiet it feels right now, it has the power to change someone's world. Speak your truth even if your hands shake. Because when you do, you'll find that courage was inside you all along. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep believing in yourself. Because somewhere out there, your story is waiting to be told.